Fuse with Ken, an amazing experience. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another amazing episode of Fuse. Today, we're talking about something very important to us, that is relationships. Specifically, we're diving into the world of marriage and exploring what makes a strong, healthy relationship. Join me as I sit down with a certified relationship coach, marriage counselor, author, and a podcast host. I'm speaking about Mopelola Aigbogun. Mopelola, known as Lady Ola. Lady Ola is also an accomplished author and the host of the podcast Moppy's World, where she discusses contemporary relationship topics. A devoted wife and mother, she is passionate about guiding others towards love and connection. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Lady Ola. Hi Ola, how you doing, Lady Ola?
I'm doing good. I'm so
How,
happy to be here.
amazing. How does it feel, being able to help people navigate relationships?
It feels natural because that's what I do. That's my passion.
Okay.
So it's relationship is very complicated.
You think so?
I know so. Not that I don't. I think so. I know so.
All right.
And this is the way I define it. I define relationship as something that you go to universities to study, just like you went to universities to study law.
Okay.
Relationship is also a course that needs to be studied.
Amazing. So today we're talking about love,
Mm.
marriage, and how to navigate the whole relationship, sphere.
Yeah.
Now let's start with what I usually like to ask my guests, on the show is, you know, when you started off your journey, as a human being, where would you say are those childhood moments that was definitive to the woman you are today?
Hmm. Actually, I had a very, very rough childhood. And if I look back at my childhood, I didn't think I would be here today. The pain that I went through, the abuse that I went through, the neglect, the rejection,
Okay.
uh, all of those put together, when the Bible says everything will work together for your good,
Okay.
everything was cooked together and make me a stronger woman, a woman of power and woman of confidence today. All that has to do with from the challenges that I face.
Okay.
Uh,
So, where did you grow up basically? Because I know you're Nigerian.
yeah,
So, but where did you grow up
I
basically?
actually grew up in Nigeria.
Okay.
I grew up in Nigeria, and when I turned 21, I moved to UK,
All right.
and I had all my children there.
Amazing. So let's dive into the main subject. I know you have passion for relationships and all
Yeah.
of that, but what actually was the inspiration behind this passion of yours?
Hmm. I would say the inspiration is because when I was growing up, I didn't know how to do relationships because I didn't have that platform. I
Okay.
didn't have that love. I didn't have that affection. I was that child that was not wanted. I was a product of divorce with my parents, and I was treated badly. I lost my dad when I was 12 years old, and that was the only father that I knew that loved me because my mother was not in the picture. I was taken away from my mother from the age of 6 months. So from there, yeah.
Okay. So growing up, it seems there was this gap of
Mm.
family orientation
Mm.
and love.
Yeah.
So how would you describe that in today's world?
In today's world, I would say that moment you see when a child is growing, sometimes we kind of don't have the understanding that the importance of that child having stability in the family. The father and the mother, they are so key in the growth of that child. If
Okay.
one is missing, it would take God and take destiny for a child to survive in the world that is full of challenges today.
You said something when you talked about your family, which is very important. The fact that you lost your dad, I could relate with you. You lost your dad at 12. I lost my dad at 16.
Mm.
My mom was there. She gave me love. I usually
Mm.
call my mom my first love because she gave me everything I needed growing up as a young kid and of course as a young man. But for your case, it seems your dad wasn't there, and your mom apparently, I would not say, I don't know if I would say she was there or she wasn't there. Was she there or she wasn't there?
She wasn't there until my father died.
So walk us through that journey. What really happened? Because I'm curious, and people watching this might be curious as well. Walk us through that, please.
I believe that my mother found my father was a promiscuous father before I was born. So somebody along the line introduced Jesus to my mother. They didn't only introduce Jesus to my mother, they introduced religion to my mother.
Okay.
My father had two wives that had children for him, but my mother was his last wife. So when she was introduced to church, they told her that she was in the wrong relationship because my father already had two wives. So if she wanted to follow Jesus, she need to, all of that is in my book.
Okay.
Yeah. she need to abandon her children and abandon her husband and follow Jesus. So my ignorant mother left everything. And
Left her marriage.
Left her marriage.
Okay.
And, back in those days, it's a taboo for a woman to walk out of a marriage. It's a slap on the face for men.
Yeah.
So my mother took me as a 6-month-old. When my father came and found the note that she left, he went after her and took me from her. And he didn't even know how to do anything. My mother was everything to him. From the beginning that my father wake up in the morning, my mother took over. So my father had no clue of how to raise a child. He had no manual was left for him to, this is how you raise a child, right?
Yeah.
There was no manual. There was no family. There was nobody. And he didn't know how to even cook, not to talk of raising a 6-month-old baby.
All right.
So he trusted every neighbor, every family, every friends to raise me. And in the process of that, I was placed in the hand of abusers. I was raped at the age of 6.
You were raped at 6.
6 years old. And it didn't stop. It didn't stop until my father died because I was not able to talk to my dad about it. I'm very deep.
Okay, now, because this story is very, very touching, I would say. Now, you didn't experience the love of your mom at a very young age, and you're actually a victim of rape. Mm-hmm. Can you walk us through that particular journey of that 6-year-old? Mm-hmm. I know you obviously would remember that,
yeah.
But what really happened? What led to that? And after that time, how did that take a toll on your life?
I can still remember, but I didn't know what led to that. I just knew that there was this person, which I cannot mention the name because he's still alive, that my father trusted with me. Then he used to drive. Yeah, he used to drive my father everywhere, and he's a relative.
So you were actually abused by a relative?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was the pain of it, because each time that I am close to talk to my dad about it, he was always telling me, if you ever tell your dad this, he's not always around. And it's me, I'm left with you. And he molested me over and over and over and over and over. And that left me broken. Because when you're going through abuse like that, and your mother was not there, and you couldn't talk to anybody about it, and my mind was just messed up. And all I knew was, every time that I have to be next to a man, all they want to do with me is to have sex with me. So I grew up with that mentality, that I've been good for nothing but for men to have sex with me.
So you were raped at 6, you grew up with the mindset of being more like a sex object, mm-hmm. And this must be very terrifying. And if you look at, some person's experiences, you'd obviously find some person that went through what you went through. Mm. I would say, that was very heartbreaking, I would say. Mm. And no kid deserves that.
Yeah.
And that brings to bear the foundation of relationships, foundation of marriage. Mm. And that's what we're talking about on the show today.
Yeah.
So now let's look at, your passion, mm-hmm. which is helping people. I wanted to understand. Mm-hmm. Now I understand why you're so passionate about helping people. So personally, when did your marriage journey begin? Or your relationship journey?
My relationship journey began when when I arrived in United Kingdom, I was attracted to this guy who was from Lagos, who I didn't know, who also had his own baggage.
Oh, all right.
Hmm. He also had his own baggage, and we met in United Kingdom, and we jumped into relationship, and then I realized that, oops, this is the wrong one. But there was a lot that was wrapped around that relationship. Number one thing that was wrapped around that relationship was my papers.
Okay. So probably you were dating for the wrong reasons at the time.
Definitely, I didn't get into that relationship for the right reason, because I had somebody said he has just gotten his British passport,
Okay.
and at that time I was living illegally in United Kingdom.
All right.
I had nobody to go back to in Nigeria. My passport was stolen, and which was why I couldn't renew my visa.
Okay.
So I had to get a fresh passport for anything to happen. So at the time that I was doing all of that, my stay expired, and I had to be living with fear and everything. So when this guy walked into my life, and I realized that back in those days you can marry a British citizen, and then everything, becomes. And I was like, it's not a bad looking guy. It's okay. But 2 weeks into that relationship, that guy started beating me. That was when I realized that he also had his own baggage.
Okay.
He was in love. He was abandoned. All that. Because deep calleth unto the deep. You will attract your kind. That's about relationship. So we kind of got into that relationship, and it was nasty. It was bad, because number one, I got into it with wrong motive. What was behind it? And the reason why I got into that relationship did not happen. I was kept in that marriage because we had to marry for me to get papers.
For papers
right?
at the time.
Yeah.
For documentation.
For documentation. And that documentation was supposed to last at least 6 months. In 6 months, they give you your they give you 1 year, and then after that you have your indefinite stay. Then 2 years later you apply for your British passport. Guess what? Nothing of that happened to me. With all the abuse, you will beat me up. I will end up in the hospital. That so many times the police had to be involved, because he was a narcissist.
If you talk about narcissism, that's like a very big subject.
Yeah.
Like I think it has been widely abused these days.
Yeah.
When you talk to someone, they will tell you he's a narcissist. She's a narcissist. I think it's even widely abused. But let's look at your early experience in marriage or relationship. Mm-hmm. You got into a relationship for obviously the wrong reasons. And I think that's what we need to talk about, because first we must identify why we're actually in a relationship.
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah. Why are we getting married in the first place? Mm-hmm. Why am I even talking to this guy? Why am I talking to this, this lady in the first place? So can you walk us through motives of a relationship?
Mm-hmm. You see, I feel that it's so important that we study relationship before we get into it. Because and that's why I always define relationship as, as a degree you have to own.
Okay.
Because we go to university, we have all our degrees, our PhD, our masters, in every subject, in everything we want to become. But relationship is one thing that nobody sit down and study.
Why do you think so?
I have no idea. I don't know why people are not paying. I wish I knew what I knew. I knew what I know now.
Okay.
My life would have taken a different turn if I'd had understanding of what relationship is all about, because I didn't.
Okay.
And this is why it's important. The reason why, things are the way they are is because we never pay attention to the fact that relationship is something that you need to cultivate. Before you cultivate something, that means you're planting, you're watering. Farmers don't fold their hands.
Right.
What do? They cultivate, they will plant, they will water, and then they wait for season to harvest. Relationship is like that. It's a plain ground.
Okay.
when you come into that relationship, you have to have something. It's not going to work itself. And if you get into that relationship for wrong reason, if you start a relationship with motive, that is selfish.
How could you tell that a motive for a relationship is selfish? How would you tell?
When you get into a relationship and the first thing I'm asking is, what's in it for me?
Okay.
What's in it for me? What are you going to, so we are in this relationship, so what am I getting from you? What's the value of me being with you? That's getting into, there's something behind there. You've gotten into that relationship for wrong reason. Every human being, this is why I feel that we need to study relationship. You need to, because when you're getting into a relationship, the only thing that's supposed to be behind your mind when you're getting into that relationship is, how can I make this person better?
Okay.
How can I, when I'm in your life, how do I transform you? What do I do to make your life better? Not the same way it is, but better. And that's when you know that you're in that relationship for the right reason.
Amazing. And when we look at your journey, Lady Ola, let's look at something very important, especially when I asked you when your marriage or relationship journey began, and you spoke about the abusive relationship you were at the time, because obviously you got married or you got into a relationship for the wrong reason, and you had extreme physical abuse.
Yes, I did.
So some persons watching this show right now going through physical abuse in their marriages. Okay. And before we go further on the show, can you walk us through when you know that I'm in this marriage? Yes, I got into this marriage for the wrong reasons and I'm being abused physically. What do I do? What's the step forward? I think that's a tough one, right?
Yeah. First of all, you need to identify what the abuse is about. What's the cause of the abuse? What is it because there are different kind of abuse. There are emotional abuse, physical abuse.
Okay.
Some people, for me, it was both physical and emotional.
Okay.
Yeah, some people would not lay their hands on you, but they are abusing you emotionally. And that is the most dangerous part, because you can't see what do you call it? you can't see marks.
The physical scar, right?
You can't see no scar, you can't see no marks on your body. So people actually don't really believe that you're going through abuse, but you're actually going through abuse. So if you are in that relationship that is
abusive,
I actually was not going to use the word abusive, but I think I'll take that. That is kind of toxic.
Okay.
It is you that know. Everyone that's in the abusive relationship, they know what's going on. They know that the reason why this thing is going on. For me, I knew that it was because I am a loving and bubbly person. I embrace everybody.
Okay.
But my partner at that time, he was so jealous that he was dealing with insecurity. That he wanted to cage me. I'm a happy person, but he's a sadist. And he doesn't want me to do anything that will make me joyful.
And you didn't see all of this before you entered the
I
relationship?
did not see any of this.
Oh.
I didn't see any of this. Plus, don't forget that I had a reason why I was there.
Apparently. So these are actually consequences, of making the wrong moves.
Yeah, because there are, in everything that you do, there are consequences.
All right.
And I knew that the motive for me being in that relationship was wrong. But I could have done it. I could have done it better if the guy had not been very abusive. Because there are relationships that you go into, just say, okay, let's just hang out. Let's just hang out. It's casual.
Okay.
But then when you get deeper with that person,
it gets serious.
Then you realize that actually this is a husband material,
Mm-hmm.
or actually this girl can be a wife material.
Okay.
Many of us don't start relationship because from the beginning that we know, oh, this is our wife. Oh, this is my husband. No, nobody start relationship like that. I'm not saying there,
But there are persons you would meet and when you ask them,
instantly you.
and they tell you, when I saw her or when I saw him, I just knew that she was the one. I just had that feeling.
Well, I didn't have that feeling.
Okay.
I didn't have that feeling. So whoever have that feeling, well, that's their story to tell. But
Amazing.
so that's their story to tell.
All right.
But even when they see that person, oh, I just knew it was there was something
All right.
in there that made them to say that. So you would know if you're in an abusive relationship,
Yeah.
what is causing that, and it is you that has the power to put an end to it. It is you that every one of us has the answer to how to get out of that relationship, or what to fix.
But some
in that
people will
relationship.
tell you that when they are actually in an abusive relationship of marriage, they feel alone, they feel powerless, they feel vulnerable. If you talk to persons, of course, that are going through, abusive relationship or marriages, most of them want to get out. But getting out is not easy. Sometimes there are commitments. Sometimes there are kids. Sometimes there are this. Maybe even your finances is not letting you live. But you are actually a person that you survived an abusive relationship.
I did.
Okay.
I did.
So if you could talk to that person actually in that situation right now, what would you say?
I would say, don't look at what you don't have, because that could limit you. I had 2 kids for this guy, and the way the marriage was, he works at night, I work during the day, so we don't have to pay a lot of childcare for the two kids.
Okay.
So we were doing that. So when I realized that if I don't get out of this guy is gonna kill me. He came home one morning from work. I was sleeping, and whatever I was cooking in his head when he was at work, he came home and I was sleeping. This guy came into the room, took the pillow, and was going to suffocate me.
That was extreme.
Serious extreme, and that was it for me. There's always a cut-off point.
A breaking point.
A breaking point.
Yeah.
That you can't take this anymore. And when he did that, I struggled out of my sleep. I actually thought I was dreaming. So when I struggled and I got up and I realized that actually I wasn't dreaming. This is real life. And I asked him, what's wrong with you? You want to kill me? And that has become a norm where after he's done beating me, he'll start to cry and start to apologize.
That was extreme manipulation.
Yes. So, and that's what many narcissists, that's the way they behave. And then, so he started crying and he started apologizing. I'm so sorry, I don't know what came over me. And I said, listen, one of us had to do something. I already have like 7 injunctions against him. And each time he apologized, I bring him back. Even the police, the government didn't know that he was in my house. I was always bringing him back because they've told him you cannot step, like 2,000 yards away from this woman. And each time he begs me, I'll bring him back. But on this very occasion, I said to myself, Mopelola, if you don't get out now, you're gonna die. This guy's gonna kill you. Something's gonna happen to his head one day, and it's gonna kill you. What will be the fate of your 2 children? The worst that can happen to him, they put him in prison for life. But those kids, do they deserve that?
Okay.
So I said to myself, I said, no, this we have to do something. Is either you get help. And he said to me, so I have a friend. Let me go and hang out. Let me go and stay with that friend for a while, and then we'll work this thing out, and until I calm down. And this, I said, that's a good idea. The moment he left the house, I changed the lock, and that was the end of it. I changed the lock, and I was like, already the government's already on my side.
Okay.
So I changed the lock. A week later, he came back. He put his key there. He couldn't open the door. Then the fire began.
Listen to this story. I must actually say that it's a very touching story. It's a story that most persons don't even survive from.
Yeah.
Really. And you tried marriage once.
Yes.
One time. Mm-hmm. It failed. Mm-hmm. And you tried it again.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And I'm glad I did.
Amazing. So tell us, coming from experience, can you tell us why 50% of marriages fail? Because your marriage once failed.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell us why 50% of marriages fail?
Yes, I can tell you. Number one reason why marriage fails is because we went into that marriage, number one, for wrong reason.
Okay.
Number two, we have no understanding what marriage is all about.
Okay.
Number three, most of the time it's all about what we can get.
Okay.
Another reason why I feel that marriages fail is, people talk about, marriage is a union of two people.
All right.
They said marriage is a union of
A man and a woman. All right. Husband and wife.
Husband and wife.
All
For
right.
me, I have a different view about that. Marriage is not a union between a man and a woman. Marriage is a union between two purposes.
What's the difference between what society says is a marriage and your own definition?
My own definition about purpose is when you get in the boat with someone that's called relationship. You get into that boat of relationship, and you get in there because it's good, on bed.
Okay.
Oh, she's good on bed. Oh, she can cook. Oh, I love her physique. I love her. You've already missed it, because all those things that drew you to her or drew you to him, that you seen as this is good enough for me to take her to the altar. I'll marry her. Just right there. Those things, when they start to fade away, you are in big problem, and that's one of the major reasons why marriage fails. When you look at the physical things that you can see, but when you have understanding of what marriage is, I always tell people, love is not enough to marry. Don't marry for love.
Lady Ola, I think I have to come in here. When you say that, people should not marry for love, I think lots of people might have a very different opinion.
Obviously, of course,
all right?
of course.
And they will tell you, I need to have an emotional connection with this person. This guy or this lady needs to be appealing to me, physically, emotionally, upstairs and all of that. And at the end of the day, we end up doing that, right? And some person will say, it's a risk. Why not take it? All right? So if you're saying that, okay, love is not enough, so what exactly is enough?
Understanding what marriage is about is what is love. It's enough. Have you ever wondered why two people are in the courtroom, divorce room, and they are saying, I love her, but I just can't be in the same room with her? So if love was enough, so why are we divorcing? Why are we in the courtroom? Why can't we be why can't you no longer want to be in the same room with him? But I love him.
Okay.
But so for me, I feel that understanding what marriage is about is what takes you further. It's what keeps you in the marriage. Because love is a daily thing that you build it.
All right.
It's a building object. You have to keep doing it. Keep doing it, building one another, patience, loving one another. That's what keeps it going. But if you don't have understanding what marriage is about, when you get in there, you realize that this guy doesn't have patience. He doesn't know how to talk to. When you were dating, he didn't show you all that.
Now, that's the big question. You're dating someone. People would say, okay, let's date for 2 years, probably 3 years, all right? Maybe a year, and let me get to know him. Talking stage, let's date, let's court, let's get to know each other, then finally we get married. It is expected that during that period, both of you get to understand each other at least, get to know certain things. But you, having spent time with the person, you feel like you know the person, right? And that's why you could say, yes, I do. But at the end of the day, you get married, and it looks like...
I'm shocked.
And it looks like, what did I do?
What did I do?
It seems like I don't know this person. Trust me, lots of persons watching this right now, or probably will see this in the future, are going through that face, what would you say?
What would I say? Wow. It's, because for me, I don't feel that you can actually know people enough.
Okay.
I mean, thank God that He gave me second chance to have a marriage, second marriage, and I've been in this marriage now for 20 going to 23 years, and I can still tell you, yesterday my husband still pulled a trigger that I thought I've seen it all, and then I was thinking, where did that one come from? 23 years, and I'm still amazed about. I've not seen that side of you in 23 years. So it's a daily thing that you get to, that will keep on unfolding, and that's why we get into this relationship, we get into marriage, and we're thinking, we weren't behaving like that. No, he wasn't talking to me the way he was talking to me now. What changed? The moment you sign on dotted line, till death do us part, the table change, it turns.
Why?
I feel it's because now a seal has been put on that relationship, especially from the men. Now they believe that they now have authority and power to control everything. And mostly it's always, like, no offense, but in reference to you guys, it's always like the way we were being treated before we got married to you. Now that you have this wife now, we have to, wash the floor that you walk. We have to bow down and honor and do all that. It's not a wrong thing to do, but I think people kind of misunderstood what submission is, and that is what causes all that you see.
You mentioned something very important: submission.
Yes, sir.
And I know you're a pastor, so let's go for the faith-based part of it, where it is said in the scriptures that husband love your wife, and it's expected that a wife should submit to her husband, right? And you're saying now that most of the problem starts from submission, isn't it? So, what exactly is submission? Are there limits to submission?
Okay. Let me go back to that scripture. Is Paul Apostle did not start with the wives. He started with the husband. Husband, love your wife as Christ loved the church. He has given men the most difficult job to do. Loving someone that is unlovable is the most difficult thing to do on earth. So he has given you guys more than what you can chew. But many people don't pay attention to that. They don't know how difficult it is, because when you think about what Christ did for the church, he died for the church. He took bullets for the church. You and I are the church. He took bullets. He went on the cross for the church. And that is what Paul Apostle was expecting men to do for their wives. Not in competition, not in superiority. That's exact. So the commandment, or the how do I say, what he apportioned to men is greater than submission. Now that's for men. So, but let's now go into the submission. The word submission itself. The word submission is not subservient. And many Christians see, especially men of God, they see this thing as is subservient. Submission, let's just break it down. Marriage is the mission. I used to work as a sub teacher many years ago. When a teacher is sick, they call me in to fit into for that person. They will call me to be a sub.
Okay. Substitute.
Substitute. So when that teacher is well, I move out of there. She gets her place. So now the mission is marriage. Paul Apostle is talking about you both have a mission. You bring your contribution, which is you are a sub. Your wife is a sub. you're submitting to the mission, which is the marriage. It's not about hierarchy. It's about how do I say it? It's about the role of individual in the mission, which is the marriage.
Okay.
And so when Paul was talking about men should love their wife, let me say this. I don't know whoever that's watching me. My husband knows how to say this better.
Okay.
Your wife is not your footmat. And submission is not a subservient, like I said.
Okay.
So what I want to say is, there is no man. I mean, there's no woman. No man. There's no woman on earth that a man will show that kind of love to, and will find it difficult to submit.
Okay.
I personally, for over 23 years, I've never had to sleep over it or think about it. Submission is a piece of cake for me. Till now, I don't have issue.
Okay, Lady Ola, let's look at, because from your explanation, you're obviously making submission conditional. If we look at your submissions here, explanation. But if you want to look at marriage, all right, if you want to look at relationship, some men will tell you, okay, I'm the man, unless you have to submit to me because I'm your man, I'm your king, I'm your lord.
Okay.
All right? But now you're saying
Yeah, go
that
on.
if the man gives that woman, the love and everything, just like, Apostle Paul says or said, no woman in the world would not submit. That's what you're saying.
No woman.
No woman in the world will not submit.
No,
if
we'll have a problem.
A problem not
submit.
submitting if a man gives a woman that Apostle Paul idea of submission, of loving, right? Now the question here is,
oh, you are in trouble today.
If
you are so much in trouble for going there. Let's go.
If a man, now the question now is, if a man, okay, is supposed to get submission based on conditions, what exactly is that marriage? What exactly is that relationship? Because you're saying for him to get that, submission, he has to do a particular thing. He has to do things X, Y, Z.
No. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, everyone has their role to play in marriage. What I'm saying is, it's the role of man to love his wife and not be a control freak over his wife.
Okay.
Because there's a difference between honoring someone and controlling someone.
What's the difference?
The difference is when you stand and put it out there as like, I am your husband, you do what I say. You're controlling that person. You're not loving that person.
Okay.
So that's the angle I'm coming from. Listen, every man is a priest of his home.
Okay.
God has placed that in the hand of men after they ate the forbidden fruit. That was when that authority was given to man. Before, when they were created, they were both made male and female. There was no hierarchy. So, but after they've eaten the food that they were not supposed to eat, then it became a curse. Like, because you did this, your desire will be your desire will be that of your husband, and that was how hierarchy comes in.
Okay.
I don't have problem with that, but what I'm trying to say to people, whoever that's watching, is we all have what we need to do to make this marriage work. Listen, if you smile at me,
All right.
you get one back. I'm just talking about smiling now. You're already smiling.
Oh, all
and
right.
it is. You're smiling at me. You get one back.
Yeah.
If you treat your wife as somebody that is created by God and loved by God, if you know that this person is a valuable asset to you, why would you treat that thing as a trash?
Okay.
Why would you want to put that person down and say, you have to, you do as I say? That's manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
My husband said something this morning and said, I want to try and rephrase what he said. He said, you cannot use people that you cannot build. It's called abuse. Let that sink. You cannot use people that you cannot build. So if you go into relationship for the reason you want somebody to clean your house, to have your babies, to put food on your table, that's abuse. You have not contributed anything to marriage.
Okay.
And if you are a lady, you go into the marriage so that this guy can take care of your bills and give you good sex. Peradventure, baby comes. That's abuse.
Then what exactly is the essence of marriage then?
The essence of marriage is cultivating. The main reason why God created it for you, so that you can water each other. That's the essence of marriage. I didn't know who I was until my husband. I met my husband. He took me out of who I was, and he brought me to be into who I'm supposed to be, that I am not right now. That is marriage. He saw me, he saw potential, he saw everything, but you could see that I was covered with so much pain that I didn't even know whether I survived. And he came into that, like, when he saw me, that was what he saw in me. And he was like, I'm gonna turn the life of this girl around. That even people around would be like, was this not Mopelola? And today, that's the question that people are asking, including my own siblings. How? So all honor and all appreciation goes to my husband every time. And that's marriage. What somebody couldn't do for me, take me out, take that, that childhood trauma out. He came in. Was it perfect? No. We went through our own shares of marriage as well.
Okay.
So it's not perfect. But that particular thing, that's why I said marriage is a union of two purposes. I came in his life. He came into mine. When he stands everywhere and talk about me, you will ask yourself a question. Okay, wow, how can a man be talking about a woman like this?
Okay.
And that's because we've mastered the purpose of marriage, which is cultivating each other's purpose. Why are you on earth? Why were you created by God? What were you created for? So when I come into your life, I'm supposed to be helping you to fulfill that purpose. Not paying attention to me alone.
Okay.
We're supposed to be, focusing on each other's purpose. I focus on yours, you focus on mine, then we come together, we blow.
So it's supposed to be symbiotic.
Yeah, that's the way. Listen, guys, this is Mope's world. This is me.
All right.
Okay, I'm telling
right.
my stories. If he blesses you, go ahead and use it.
Okay. Now, I could say I'm having a fantastic time, by the way, because Lady Ola is dishing out some very personal experiences and nuggets, and this is really amazing. I hope you watching, you're actually taking down some notes, and trying to learn some lessons. Now, let's look at your second marriage. The first one failed. Now the second one started. What were the challenges that you encountered in your second marriage when you gave love and marriage a chance, and how did you overcome those challenges? Because people need to know that.
Yeah, I came into that marriage broken, and didn't know who I was, and I didn't respect myself. I didn't see anything good. But so I came into that marriage with as a broken person, and my husband, like I said, is not perfect, but he saw that, and he just wanted to make the best out of me. And many times, because I was coming from an abusive marriage, so each time when I do something, For example, let's just say there was a cup of coffee here, and I was, going somewhere, and I just knocked the cup of coffee, and the coffee spill.
Yeah.
Where I was, the former relationship, right there, I'll get beaten for knocking that coffee over. And actually, you can take that mug and throw it at me. Like, are you crazy? Can you not see? But when I drop the coffee in this one, he will get up and say, honey, let's quickly clean it up. And he will go to the kitchen, get the thing, and quickly clean it up. And I will stand there, I will be shaking. I will be like, okay, what's coming next? And sometimes he will like, why are you shaking? Why are you standing there? Why are you shaking? And then he will click and say, oh, okay. But in this one, I'm not going to beat you. I'm not going to beat you. And gradually, when he was showing me love, listen, it's funny how God has this sense of humor. When we met, I mean, I'm a church goer, but I'd never had relationship with Holy Spirit. And instantly, he was living in LA, I was living in London. So we spent a lot of time on phone.
Okay, it was a long distance relationship.
It was a long distance relationship before we came together.
Okay.
So the second day that I started talking to him, I had the voice on the inside of me that say, he's never been loved before. So I needed to show him love. That's crazy, right? I didn't know what love is. I've never been loved. I didn't know what love looked like when it shows up. But that thing in me, I started treating him like a king. I barely know him. I've not seen him. And gradually, he started to be free with me, and he started to, when he had issues, you guys don't cry. And you'd rather not tell your girl what you're going through. And in 3 months, he will break down on the phone and he'll be talking to me about the issue that he's having with his work and all that. And that was how we got so connected in the soul and the spirit. But when we now came together to live together as husbands, when we got married, and that was when he started to see that I was damaged more than he expected. But he was patient. He was intentional. He was so intentional that this girl is who I want to stay with.
Lady Ola, I think your story is really very touching. With the fact that first things first, you had a very traumatizing childhood, you survived rape,
Mm-hmm.
and you entered a relationship for the wrong reasons,
Mm-hmm.
and you were abused,
Mm-hmm.
and you got out of the first marriage, and you entered a second marriage, and you were now lucky, I would say. But let's look at something here, which is being heard in a relationship. It is like a very big, topic. People say, he doesn't listen to me. When I talk, I feel like he doesn't listen to me. When I talk, I feel like she doesn't listen. I feel like I'm not heard. Can you walk us through that?
Relationship is so complicated. The picture that I just pictured now, that I just showed you about my husband being the sweetest,
Yeah.
there's other part of him that wasn't sweet. And that is, he doesn't listen. I wasn't heard. And I didn't realize that I was not heard because I had faced so many abuse and rejection and all that. So I've tuned my mind into, I have to be at the mercy of every man, if that makes sense. Like, I'm only going to be good. Because I had my mother say that to me for 10 years before she died. When I eventually went to go and live with her, she had me when I was a teenager. And everything that my father has told me, that I was abandoned and all those things, when we met. So I made her life miserable. I was not the saint that is sitting here today.
I like the honesty about it.
Yeah, and I made her life miserable. So my mother couldn't handle it. As a religious woman that she called herself, every night I was being cursed. You will never be good for anything. Nobody, they will be sleeping you and be dropping you.
Those were the words
Those were the words of my
your
mother for 10 years that I had that. You will never amount to anything. That was what I had my mother said to me every day for 10 years before she died. So that when, who else would you believe? Your mother said this, so you will believe it, right? So that when we meet into every relationship that I've had, including this one that I'm in. So I went into that relationship with the mind, I'm never going to be good for anything. So this guy has shown me little kindness. Let me be. So I was throwing myself out there. And I didn't realize that I was not hard because I was always timid. I was always, before he says something I would do more. And it's not a controlling person. My husband is not someone that controls. He wants you to say something. But I was too timid to even say a word out of me. Because he's an eloquent speaker. He's a motivational speaker. He's smart. He's the smartest cook guy in the room when you enter into there.
Okay.
So he's knowledgeable. He's a PhD holder. I mean, when he talks, if you even open Bible and say, let's talk about Bible, he will take you from Genesis to Revelation and he will not stop. That's how smart he is. So there's nothing I can say that will have weight. So I didn't see that until actually 3 years ago. Just 3 years ago that I realized that.
So 20 years in marriage, that was when you realized that,
I
wasn't heard.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't heard until for 20 years. All of a sudden I just realized, okay, I was talking to him, and my husband has this. It's changing now, right? It's changing now. He has this way of, when you're talking, when you want to talk about something, he's already have the answer ready for you. Before you say, you're still thinking about it, and you're looking for which way am I going to say it. Let me say it this way, because he's so quick at his feet to answer something. So each time I'm saying something, he will tell me, say things like, okay, this I know this is where you're going, and this, and he will take it all the way. And then when I start to see that it's going different direction, I'll withdraw. Until 3 years ago that I realized that we were in a room, and I was actually saying something about one of our children, and he was saying something else. And I said, man of God, you don't hear me, do you? You don't actually listen to me. And he said, I listen to you. What do you mean I don't listen to you? I listen to you. I said, no, you don't. Actually, I just realized that for 20 years you have not been listening. And that was when he realized, have I not really been listening? Wow, honey, I am so sorry. I didn't mean not to listen, but I thought, because it's always defensive.
Okay.
Yeah. It's always, before you say something, you already thought that, okay, you're going to slash him there, so you put it up.
Okay.
So when he started to realize that, oh, actually you've not been heard, then he would dare say, honey, okay, is this what you mean? Is this what you're trying to say? Then he will leave everything and listen and sit down, and he will listen to me. So sometimes it's not that they are doing it on purpose, not to hear you, but the things that are different. How do I say it down? Different things that are occupying their mind.
Okay.
And they are being distracted by a lot of things, and sometimes it's the way we present
things or topics,
yeah,
or conversations.
Yeah, is the way I'll give you an example. It was just there 2 weeks ago. I just finished writing another book, and to myself I was like, I'm gonna, I've not written book for a very long time, so I'm gonna surprise him that I've written this book. And so when I finished that book, and I brought my iPad downstairs, and he was on his phone.
Okay.
And I said, honey, guess what? I've written a new book. He looked at me and said, was that supposed to surprise me? I said, yeah, because I've not written a book for a while. He said, but that's no surprise for me because I know you have the ability, and I know that I've been waiting for you to say you're written this book. And I said, so he got excited and he said, okay, I'm really really excited about this book. And then he went straight back on his phone and he was scrolling. And that kind of got me
It
like
got you pissed.
pissed. I was like, honey, are you not gonna
Check this out?
check this? He said, oh yeah, I'll check it out when I'm done. And to me, that was like, okay. Then I went away. I just walked away. This is a lesson for someone. Okay, it doesn't have a bad intention, but my presentation was wrong. My presentation was wrong. And let me tell you how my presentation was wrong. I already assumed that whatever he was doing on that phone was not as important as my book. So when I came into that space where I didn't know what he was doing, but I just saw him scrolling. So in my mind, he was, I mean, what could have been important?
Okay.
What could have been important than,
All
my
right.
achievement here? Come on, what could have been important? But as important as that achievement was, I missed the mark.
So
And that
timing is key.
timing is key.
All
And
right.
I got hot. So we got into the car, we drove to the gym. We normally go to this gym every Saturday morning together. So we were in the car and I started to, many years I wouldn't even say it. Many years I would just be quiet. And I say, honey, I'm actually hurt for the way you reacted. I thought you'd be excited, and because I've not released, the last book I released was about how many years ago, and I thought, okay, let me just, and he said, you were wrong. I said, how? He said, you were wrong because you just thought, because you had something to share with me, I should drop whatever I'm doing. That's not right. That's wrong. And when he said that, I had the choice to even get more angry.
Okay.
But I didn't pick that choice. I chose the part to say, baby, I am so sorry. It's now that you're talking about it, I realized that actually that was way out of line. So we drove in the car, we went to the gym, I dropped him. I went to go do my nails.
Talking about this, something else got me now.
Okay, go on.
Which is the act or the ability to say sorry, to say I'm sorry. I think that's very important in relationships.
In relationship, it's very, very important.
We let our ego, get
In the way.
hold of us. And literally a simple I'm sorry, honey, I'm sorry, baby, I'm sorry would help. But I don't know. Some persons, I don't know. I know I have a lot of ego, by the way, but I'm working on it. But I think we as human beings, as partners, we should acknowledge when we are wrong. We should not always think that we are right, right?
Yes.
So when you're wrong, say I'm sorry.
Say you're sorry. It doesn't take anything to say sorry. I mean it. No, don't just say sorry so that the other person can shut up.
Say it
Mean
and mean
it.
it. All right.
Because it's important. So the way I behave, the way I apologize, and so when he was having his own session in the gym, he got thinking that actually the way I reacted was bad.
Okay.
I shouldn't have reacted the way I reacted to my wife like that. So he
Alright.
sent me a long message.
Okay.
Baby, I'm so sorry. I should have reacted like that. That's that project you've been working on in an exam. So he also went and apologized, and that was how we finished it. That was how we ended it.
Okay, amazing. So now, as we talk about marriage and relationship, because that's like a very amazing conversation and it's very important to all of us, let's look at something very important here, which
Right.
is communication. It's very pivotal to the success or the failure of every relationship.
Don't even get
right?
me started. Yeah.
Okay, so how can you build a strong, communication in a relationship? How can you make it strong? How can you make it very visible?
Co-
How can you
co-
make it healthy?
Yeah, communication is key in relationship. Key is the number one key in relationship. The reason why it's number one key is because You don't get into relationship to be assuming. You don't use the word assumption
Okay.
in relationship. When you start to assume that this person should know this person is not a mind reader.
All
Whatever
right.
it is that you're going through or that's going on the inside of you, if you don't say it out, bro, I cannot help you.
All right.
I mean, sis, I can't help you. The thing is, it is us mostly that does that. Women, we do that a lot.
Okay.
We have something that we expecting our husband to do for us or expecting them to say to us, but we're not communicating it. If you don't communicate what your needs are, I cannot meet those needs. And it's so important that you marry someone that you understand each other. When you're building a relationship, let communication be the first thing that you build. For those that are just getting into a relationship and wanting to know whether it works, it doesn't work, the first thing that you need to do is communicate. Communicate the level that you are. Communicate the level you want to be. Communicate what has happened to you before, what you would like to see. It is not about what do you like to wear, what do you like to eat, how many children do you want to have. Before you start having all those communication as the first time you're talking, where do you want to be in 5 years? What's your goal?
Okay.
All those things you need to communicate it. So what do you like? What is how do you see this? How do you see that? If you don't communicate, for example, when I go into a relationship, I didn't know that communication is the key. So I always go into my shell.
You don't open up. You don't
I
speak
don't
up.
I don't speak up. I don't open up because I've been so suppressed that I don't think I have any voice.
All right.
So I don't speak up. And meanwhile, the things that I would love my partner to do, it's not doing it. And I'm expecting him to just read all of this. And then the situation get more worse because I start to resent him. Because it's not doing what I wanted him to do, even though I'm not telling him what I want him to do.
So, what do you think are those strategies for communication?
The strategies for communication is understanding each other. Creating time for each other. You have something that you want to talk about, have a date time. Go out. If you have kids, leave the kids behind. Get somebody to take care of them. Go out. Sit down together. Table it. It's because if you don't talk about it, it's going to be under the carpet and it's going to haunt you. You have anger issue. The moment you walk into the room, we are all afraid. Your wife is afraid. Your children are afraid. I know that this anger is killing my relationship.
Okay.
And communication is to say, bro, I'm not liking the way you raise your voice on the kids. I'm not liking the way you handle things. But if you don't communicate those things, this is why I always say to people, you've got to self-love before you get into any relationship.
Self-love.
Yes.
Okay.
If you don't build yourself, if you don't self-love yourself, if you don't have confidence in yourself, if you don't know you, if you are afraid to stay in the same room with yourself, there's no way you add value to anybody's life. So when you go into a relationship with confidence, you know who you are, you know the value, you know your value, you know what you're worth, it becomes easy to work with your partner. It becomes easy to communicate. It becomes easy to say things that are wrong and say, this is not right, let's fix it, let's sit down and talk. Some people don't know how to talk. A lot of our men don't know how to talk. They just know how to dish others.
Lady Ola, when you say when you say some men don't know how to talk or some people don't know how to talk, and I would like to ask a question.
Go ahead.
What's the right way to talk then?
The right way to talk?
Yeah.
The right way to talk is not when you're angry.
Okay.
When something is bothering you, that's not when to talk. Because if you talk when something is bothering you, something is pissing you off, you will say the wrong thing, and whatever you're trying to communicate to your partner, she will never receive it because it's coming out of anger. You want to talk? Let's talk when you're happy. Let's talk when we're in bed. Let's talk when the moods are, like
Cool.
that are cool. Because I didn't know how to talk. But I still have my own way of communicating what I don't like.
Okay.
With this my marriage. This is what I do. My iPad was my weapon. I would send message. I would write emails
Are you
to my
serious?
husband. Yes. Yes, I did it.
How long did you do that actually?
I did that for over 20 years. For 20 years, I write my pain. Anything because I don't like confrontation. I don't like us exchanging, words. My daughter got married, and when I was actually doing premarital counseling with her and her husband, and there's a part where we normally, when we're doing premarital counseling for couples, there's a part where we talk about their childhood and how what they see their parents do. So the guy told me, well, what he saw his parents did. When it came to the turn of my child, my only daughter, I was, how do you resolve conflict in marriage? How would you resolve conflict in marriage? My daughter looked at me straight in the face. I don't know how to resolve conflict. I've never seen you and dad have conflicts. That was how much I managed that. That was how much.
How did you feel when you heard that from your daughter?
When I had that, it got me. It got me like, no, this is not right. I think I've covered it too much that I didn't let my daughter realize that in marriage you will have conflicts, but how you solve it is another thing. So she didn't know. So I had to be telling her, oh gosh, I think I've been so good about covering it and making sure that our children never see us for one day have argument. It never happened. Because when it's coming, when that argument is coming, I can see it from afar, and I'll kill it right there. With my sweetness, my smile, my covering,
Okay.
I'll do things that I will like. He will just forget about it and he will move on.
No, but in as much as you try to, tame the situation or control
Yeah.
it, but there's always a root cause
Yes.
for everything.
Yes.
So despite the fact that you have a very lovely personality, some persons are not that smiley. Some persons are not that jovial. Some persons, they're kind of, very reserved. So what would you say as regards conflict resolution? Having those tough conversations, in marriage, in relationships.
Conflict resolution is something that you have to really work at. Understanding each other is the key. Giving room to each other is the key. Allowing each other to speak is the key. They are so important when it comes to that. Because I didn't like confrontation. I didn't think I am in a position that I had a voice. I didn't think I had a voice. So I'm always avoiding to say things. Many times I say sorry for what I was right. I was right, but I will be the one saying sorry because I just don't want. I don't want that.
Okay.
And it was a bad thing, and that was what revealed the insecurity that is in me, that was in me. That was what revealed, the love that I never had growing up.
Okay.
That I didn't know how to mind because I didn't live with parents that had conflicts.
Okay.
My parents were not together. I didn't have no role model to say, okay, this is how they resolve it. And besides, I've been hearing this, you will never be good for anything. So I'm always burying my head and say, okay, this one is, let's just stay here. And one thing I didn't want my children to grow up to know, because my daughter saw, she was around 5-6 years old when I was in the other relationship. She saw the abuse. And I totally want to wipe that off our mind so that our future can be secured.
Okay, as we look at the issues or relationship and marriage, as it were, Let's look at something very important.
Okay, here we go.
Intimacy and, romance.
Mm.
Very vital, isn't it? Now, how can couples, especially when their life get busier, how can they keep their romance and intimacy alive when their life get busier, raising kids, work commitment, and all of that?
Intimacy. You got to do whatever you got to do.
That's like putting no limits here.
No. There's no, because you see what's important is you both need to be intentional. That we need intimacy in relationships. We do need intimacy. We need the romance. For me, I don't believe that because I have children, then they have to be in the middle. The problem we have is once we start having children, those children start to pull us apart.
But sometimes it's not intentional.
Sometimes it's not intentional because we're not making it intentional.
Okay.
Because we from the beginning, if we had communicated that we're going to have 2 children and we're not going to let the children come between us, it's important before we say I do. We need to discuss all that. They're not gonna. So when we have children, we're gonna set date out that will go and dine. Sometimes it's not about we may not have enough money, but sometimes it's just about taking each other for a walk.
Okay.
Go walk in the mall. Just do something as long as you're together. Your phone is not with you. You're not answering business phone call and all that because that's not intimate.
Okay.
So intimacy is so powerful, and it's because you need to, we've gone out, on separate ways. You've gone to work, I've been to work, and now we come together. We need to. If we don't have intimacy, it's not going to be long before we start cohabitating. Then it's no longer going to be marriage. Then it's going to be we are cohabitating.
Let's talk about something. While we talk about intimacy and romance, because people will tell you that physical attraction or connection is very important in marriage and relationship. You have over 20 years of experience in marriage.
Come on, let's slam it.
So
let's go.
But let's look at intimacy and romance or sex. Mm-hmm. All right. You hear people say that the sex drive when we started marriage, after 5 years, 10 years, is not the way it used to be. And probably that's one of the reasons why they might say, okay, I'm not getting it enough. Maybe he's not giving it to me enough. I'm not getting enough from her. And that there's that disconnect. And some men might say, okay, let me get it somewhere else. So the need or the importance of intimacy, romance or sex as it were, can you walk us through that?
Yeah, sex definitely is very important. 2 things church people don't like to talk about: money and sex, but they want both.
Okay.
So sex is not the major reason why you are married, but it's the most powerful tool to bring you together. And people, the reason why we start to drift apart and our sex life start to dwindle is because both of us will get busy. And one person is busier than the other one, which is always the woman, if kids are involved. Because we both go to work, we come back together, we have kids.
All right.
Men sit in the living room, watch news, waiting for their food. The woman, barely she might not even have taken off her shoes, will stay in the kitchen, cook the food, help the kids with homework, get them into the shower, give them bath before they go to bed. Possibly will read them Bible stories when they go to bed. By this time, our guy is already in the room. Can you see the difference? By the time that woman gets into the bedroom, she's knackered, she's tired.
But there can be shared responsibilities.
Exactly, but if we share responsibility, it shouldn't affect our intimate sex. Another thing that makes us to be drifted apart, especially when it comes to sex, is the way we look. When you got me, I was very attractive, and anywhere, anytime, anywhere, bathroom, toilet, kitchen, we're having sex. There was no children. Now I got into marriage. Now we've sealed it. Now we're married. This is what I say to women. Because now he has put a ring on it, doesn't mean that you have to relax. Because now you're wife, right? You're Mrs.
Okay.
So you have the permission to be adding calories and dressing anyhow. That is going to make your husband not to be attractive to you again, or to attracted to you again. It's going to make the man to look at. I walk into the house, you're not wearing shorts that you used to wear. I walk into the house, you're wearing some things that has covered all your shape, and I'm just not feeling aroused. Those are the things, because for you to have sex, there has to be something that
A stimulant.
it has to be there. It's
All
either
right.
you walk in, you're like, hey, this woman after 2 years, you're still looking this good. You can use shirt and bend it up.
Okay.
She doesn't have to do anything, because the way you saw her, you're already aroused.
Okay.
And that will keep your sex life on balance. And it's vice versa. And people wonder, why am I looking at 58? That guy there, the way he saw me when I met him 23 years ago is the way I'm still here right now. I'm still the same me. I make sure that
Lady Ola, when we talk about, maintaining your physique, that's like a whole subject. All right. I think we're going to have like a second episode to talk about that. As we look to, wrap up today, let's look at a couple of few things before we wrap up. Trust. Trust is very important in a relationship, in marriage. Can you walk us through that path, please?
trust is important, and you cannot trust people that don't want to be trusted. For someone to trust you, you've got to earn it. You've got to own it. You have to, because human being, the way our mind works, is just one way. This is the way I know you. So if you drift away, you have shifted my focus, my belief in what you do. So when you have to, whatever you have been doing, don't walk away from it.
Okay.
Because it's so key, and it can destroy your marriage. It's always you and I. Before you leave work, you call me, honey, I'm on my way home. All of a sudden you don't call. Okay, you have overtime at work now. You're not calling me, like I'm gonna be late. And then it starts there, because the moment I start to have a feeling that, why is he not calling me? Why is he not calling me? Why is he not telling me, what he's going through, what he's seeing and all that? Because I've trusted you before. And if you ever give me a sign
Any room to doubt?
that I cannot trust you, like I said, not everybody will be like me. My husband has failed many, many times, that I should say, I cannot trust this guy again. But because I did not go into that marriage because of just love, I went into that marriage because I understood what marriage is all about. So I was able to overlook his flaws and then keep the trust.
Amazing. Okay, Lady Ola, you have a book. You have a book. Do you know why? You can feel my pain. Overcoming the Pain of Separation by Lady Ola. This is such an amazing book. Can you just tell us why someone should read this book?
Well, someone should read this book if they have been separated from anything. If you have been separated from, if you've had a loss of a father or parents, or you've built a monument, like you built a business that you've lost,
Okay.
you've lost a relationship, that you don't know how to move on. Because many times we drown in our pain. Our
Okay.
past pain that stops us from moving forward. When I was on a medical mission to South Africa. I was in a plane, and I was told that I was going to be preaching in that church. I've never been to that church before, and I asked Holy Spirit. I said, well, "What am I going to preach? This is not my congregation." And then he gave me the message. Took me to a scripture, and that scripture was about where Jesus was going to get semen. The Bible said he took his disciples. When he got to a particular place, he separated them. He took the three. And he told the rest of them to stay behind. And he took James, Peter, and John. And he took them. The reason why he took them is so that they can pray with him, so that they can hang out with, because those are his best three. They've done things together with him. So he took them. So when he took them, at that moment, Jesus was feeling the pain of the weight that he was about to carry for the sin of the whole world. So when he took them, they didn't realize what Jesus was about to go through. Even though he's been talking to them, "Oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to leave you behind," they didn't understand. But when that moment came, that he was about to be separated, he has been with them for 3 years. When he was about to be separated from them, Jesus was so much in pain. I mean, like, he didn't know how to move to the next phase. That to the extent that he had to confess to these three that my soul is sorrowful and I'm so much in pain. But they couldn't understand that, because they thought, you're a son of God. Why would you be? They didn't realize that, because it was not their pain.
Okay.
Nobody can understand your pain because it's yours. And that's why nobody could feel. They couldn't feel his pain. And when he came, the Bible said 3 times he came to them. What did he make them? They were sleeping. Each time he was coming for support, but they were not there to support him. And that's the reason. That's the reason why, when we are going through something, you've lost business, you lost a relationship, you've lost a child, you've lost a husband or a father. Each time when people are telling you, "Oh, sorry," they're only telling you sorry. It's not that because they can feel your pain. And sometimes we expect people to feel our pain so that they can be there for us. But they can't, because it is your pain. It's only you that can feel it. And when you feel your pain, the only way you can overcome that's why the subtitle of that book is saying, "Overcoming the Pain of Separation." We built monuments. We built a mega church in Saudi Arabia in a country where nobody would have tried it. We were separated from that. And I was so much in pain because I put everything in it. So when I was going on that medical mission, and the Lord gave me that and said, "Okay, what is it? Do you know why you can't feel my pain?" That was where the title of this message came, right in the plane.
That was the inspiration.
Yeah.
Amazing. Lady Ola, it's been an amazing time. I could sit here and talk to you for like 3 hours. We could talk about your journey, marriage, relationship. I want to say thank you for coming. And just in few words, with over 20 years of experience as a marriage counselor, being married, for 23 years now, what would be your piece of advice on a conclusive note?
My piece of advice would be, don't get into marriage if you don't understand what marriage is about. Never get into any relationship without studying the relationship. Because in your studying of relationship, it allows you to navigate relationship better. That would be my piece of advice.
Thank you so much, Lady Ola. It's been an amazing time today, and trust me, you really had one or two, times where you felt like, okay, I could relate to this. So I would love to say something. Whether you are, navigating the ups and downs of love or simply exploring what makes a relationship thrive, we hope you found something meaningful in today's episode. Remember, healthy relationships are built on communication, trust, and understanding. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a comment, as your support is really appreciated. Thank you so much, and bye for now. Gracias.